Hi everyone. If you cruise at all, you'll recognize these names. Cagney's, Fahrenheit 451, Chops Grill, Pinnacle Grill, Crown Grill. What do they all have in common? Well, those are the steakhouses on various cruise lines. And those steakhouses pump out hundreds of steaks cooked to temperature every day. And how do they do that? How do they make so many steaks so accurately temperatured and do it so well? Well, today we're going to show you the secret behind how they do that and how you can use it at home if you have to cook a lot of steaks for different people that might want them at different donenesses. So let's start. Today we have two New York strips. They're about an inch thick. New York strips are my favorite cut of meat. And what we're going to do today is use a technique to par cook these steaks, which means we're going to cook them to a temperature of about 120 Fahrenheit, which is basically just blue. It's barely rare, maybe even not rare. So we're not going to cook them to the temperature we want. We're going to cook them to a lower temperature using indirect heat, just baking in an oven to get that temperature. And then we will, when we need them, which might be hours later, we will use our stovetop to cook them to the proper temperature and really get that crust that makes steaks so good. So let's start with how we're going to do that. This basically starts the way you would start anytime you're going to cook a steak. That's with seasoning your meat. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit of neutral oil. I'm going to put one glove on here just to make this a little easier and cleaner for me to do. And all I'm going to do is put a little bit of oil on the one side and just kind of rub that in. I've also dried these steaks off, which is really important. You don't want any moisture on there other than what you're going to put on there. So I'm just using my glove that has some of that oil on there to do the other side of the steaks. Alright, so I'm done with this glove. I don't need it anymore. Now we're going to season our steaks. Steak you need to aggressively season with salt. So we are going to do that. So aggressively season this one side. It may look like a lot of salt, but it's not really. This is a large piece of meat. I'm just going to kind of tap that in there. Then we'll go ahead and use our pepper. When you're doing a reverse sear, is basically what we're doing. You can season this pretty much right at this stage. Pepper can burn, so it's kind of sometimes one of those things you do at the end. So that's our one side. We're going to flip this over again, and we are going to repeat on the other side. So aggressively season with salt. Always season both sides of your meat you're cooking. And again with pepper. This is the only seasoning we're going to use on the steak, and that's really the last time we're going to season it, unless you want to add some like finishing salt maybe at the end. Okay, so all we're going to do now is place our seasoned steaks on a quarter sheet pan that I have a rack on, as well as some foil underneath just to catch anything that drips off of there. And I'm just going to place those on there like that. We also are going to need some specialized tools. So we're going to have a constant read thermometer that we're going to employ when we have these. So because we're going to aim at a temperature of about 118 to 120 for these. So that is not a cooked temperature. That's the temperature we're going to par cook these at, and then we're going to stop, let them cool down a little bit, and then we're going to park them in the fridge till we really need them. And we'll talk about how we deal with them out of the fridge when we get to that point. So I'm just going to place my thermometer in the center of the meat and try to get halfway down. One way you can do this is you can just do the thickness like this, kind of with your finger, so your thumb knows how thick it is, and just go about halfway in. That way you're kind of in the center of the meat. Putting it in at an angle just so I can shut the door of the oven. Okay, so that's there. We'll go ahead and attach it to this. I'm going to adjust my temperature, alarm temperature, to 118 degrees. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and stick it in the oven. That's it for a while until your alarm goes off that you're at temperature. Then you will pull them. So this will take half an hour maybe, because we're at a very low temperature in our oven. The oven is at about 205. So anywhere between 200 225 is where you want to have your oven, just a low setting. So we're going to let these go low and slow and let them go till our alarm goes off. So I'll stick these in the oven and we'll be back. Okay, so it took about 30 minutes. Our steaks have, the alarm went off at 118 degrees. Okay. So they're internally, I trust that thermometer a little bit more. They're about 112, which is perfectly fine. We're going to just let these sit for now. And you'll notice they're not the prettiest things in the world right now, but they're not done or anywhere near done, really. But this is the state we're going to leave them in until we're ready to actually cook them to the temperature that whoever you're making them for wants. We do have to talk about a couple of things. One of the things is why this is such a benefit way of doing this for if you have a large number of steaks or different cuts of meat, and people that want different temperatures, is because this part of the cooking, we're just going to let these sit and rest for basically as much as hours. So when we do flash them and really cook them at a high temperature to get them up to the temperature that we really want, we're not going to have them rest nearly as long. Only maybe a minute or two of rest time is all that's going to require, as opposed to the 5 or 10 minutes of rest time, which you really should do on a steak. So not having to rest these that long is a huge benefit when you're ready to serve. And it's one of the reasons why they do this. Plus it will save a tremendous amount of time in cooking them, as well as space on their grill or plancha or whatever they're using to cook the steaks off. So the other thing we need to talk about is food safety, because I can't just leave these sit on the counter forever, because they're going to get down to a temperature where they'll be in the danger zone for problems with bacteria and things. So I'm going to let these rest and just sit here for maybe 10 minutes. Once they get to a little bit cooler, I'll put them in a Ziploc bag and we will put them in the refrigerator. Now when it's time to get ready to cook them, we're going to want to take them out of the temperature, out of the refrigerator, because in the refrigerator they're going to be about 40 or so degrees Fahrenheit. We want to take them out and let them get up to somewhere in the neighborhood of less than room temperature, but in that neighborhood. Because when we heat these up to serve them, the thermal journey they need to make, you don't want it to be very long. So if they start at 40 and you have to crank them up to serving temperature on the inside of like 120 or whatever, that's going to take a long time, and you're going to have a really hard time cooking them to the doneness that you want. If they're a little bit more room temperature or closer to room temperature, the thermal journey is much shorter, and you'll be able to hit that temperature for serving, plus without really cooking them any more on the inside than you really want to. So that's our plan. And again, we just did 2 steaks. You could do 20 if you had them. So that's one of the benefits, real big benefit of doing this if you're serving a lot of people, like they do at those restaurants, or like you might do if you're having a dinner party on, say, a holiday, like it is coming up this weekend for Memorial Day. But it's a good way of doing this. So I'm going to just let these cool, then we'll bag them, and we'll come back and talk to you in a few hours when we get closer to actually serving these for dinner. All right, we'll see you later. Okay, I've moved over to the range now, and we're ready to finish these because it's almost time for us to eat. So we'll go ahead and get these going. Now these have been out of the refrigerator for a little while. They're like 60, 65 degrees right now, so they're getting up to room temperature, but that's good enough. I'm not going to push them any further. We have a cast iron pan here. The cast iron pan is almost kind of essential, I think, for this because you want to build a crust in stainless. You can kind of do it with non-stick. You don't want to use because the temperatures we're going to get to are really, really high. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this burner on to high, and I am going to get this pan as hot as I possibly can make it. We have our thermometer here, so we'll take a look, but I should be in the 600 degree range, ideally. I'm going to actually turn the fan on, so this is going to be a little bit of a noise thing, but I have to have it on. We'll wait till I put the steak in to do that. So the steak has been par cooked to about 118 or so degrees, which is about 15 or so degrees lower than I want it to be for like medium rare. I'm going to cook these both off to about that temperature, and we'll go from there. So this is going to take a little while to heat up, so we'll maybe speed through this as we kind of look. So yeah, 240, and we're not even halfway there yet. Okay, we're getting there. You can see the pan is starting to smoke. That's okay. I'm going to put a little bit of oil on this tissue, the paper towel, and I'm going to quickly do this onto the surface so I don't stay in one place too long because I don't want to burn my fingers. Okay, so that's really all the oil we're going to need. Now I'm going to try to get these steaks on here, and they're going to make some noise. Okay, so now we're going to climb the thermal ladder here and try to get these to a place where our temperature is right. This should only take about a minute and a half to maybe 2 minutes aside. Again, I have the pan is, we're looking at 400 in the middle and upwards of 500 on the sides. I have this crank as far as I can go. Right now we're going to try to build a crust. So we'll let these go for about a minute and a half. Okay, so we're approaching the time we're going to flip them. Now, some of you may be asking, why didn't you certainly can do this on an outdoor grill? Absolutely you can. I'm doing it indoors for a couple of reasons. One, I don't have a grill right now. Number two is I like using cast iron pans because I think the surface coverage is better and you get a little more consistency and temperature, so it's a little easier to control. Alright, so we've been about 2 minutes on this side. I'm going to go ahead and flip these. I'm going to flip them like kind of that way so as to if there's hot spots in the grill, or on the pan, which I'm sure there are, I'm going to kind of move that around. Okay, you can see there is a really nice crust on there. Okay, this side's only going to take maybe 1 more minute and then we'll be done. Take a quick cheating look there. Okay, so we got to bust this up. And remember, we're not really necessarily looking to get it to the temperature because we know it's heating up and building. want to get it to a temperature that is warm enough certainly to eat. And then cook to our, we're again aiming for medium rare, and the real benefit of this is we do not have to rest this, but maybe just a minute. Alright, another, say, minute and a half on this, and then we'll be good. And 600. Okay, I've turned taken off the heat. Just going to leave the fan on for a while. As you can see, the pan is very, very hot right now. Total cooking time was maybe 4.5 minutes. Complete cooking time, and that's really all we're going to need. Technically they're resting right now, so we can go ahead and move them over here, and we'll take a look and see how we did. Alright, so moment of truth. So we went ahead and we par cooked these to about 110 or 12 degrees. We then pulled them, let them sit for a while, put them in the refrigerator until we're ready to serve, we're ready to cook them to temperature. Then we just did our cook to temperature, where we spent about maybe 2 minutes on the grill on each side, maybe a little bit longer, and we'll see how we're doing. I'm going to just go ahead, and you can see there's some juices coming out of here, but not really too much. Let's give it a cut. See how we did. We go right down the middle. Okay, so that is pretty much dead nuts medium rare on our steak. Take a look at our other one. Again, medium rare. That is what we were aiming at. So this method really kind of allows you to cheat a little and save some time by par cooking your steaks. It's the way those restaurants on, we have a fork here. The restaurants on the cruise ships do it. At steakhouses, they could not cook them. Take the time to cook them all the way to temperature, then let them rest the appropriate amount of time that you need to let them rest, and get them to your plate on time without you being in the restaurant for hours and hours and hours. So this is a way that they can kind of speed up that process. Let's see how we did. So really well seasoned piece of steak, nice and tender. Now you do want to make sure you cut these against the grain, which is not really the way I did it, to give you the best tenderness. But there you go. That's a way you can cheat. It's not cheating, it's just being smart. Then how you can cook a lot of pieces of beef, the various steak cuts, and do a lot of them in a more efficient way, I guess is a better way to do it. So remember, I'm Pat from Calm Sea Cooks, and I hope you enjoyed this recipe. If you enjoy other ones, please go ahead and subscribe to our channel, and check out our other channel, Calm Sea Cruise, where we go on these cruise ships and try out food in those restaurants. All right, have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you again.